I'll hammer down.
Well, what gets me is that how do you have a successful business act on the black market and destroy the neighborhood?
Does it go to other entities?
Use another business restoration.
Yeah.
So ever since the inception of the mechanical restoration, whatever,
Asking for the email.
they've had start date of July 15th and September 15th. Except for this year.
Because there's so much more in those emails.
And the reason it's September 15th is
We all
because
know
children
that.
that are
I want to
active,
make sure everyone
they have responded to
What we do.
you have spawn examined in the river, mechanical restoration, raised cells.
Everything from.
Anyhow, just be prepared for that
I
question.
think we need to have a forensic account.
Spawning or the reds.
Margaret,
Because
I have a weird question.
Thanks.
I don't think it actually applies, but it just occurred to me. So, okay. If we only have 3 supervisors and we have an officer requires a whole thing, that's what I thought, but
Excitement today.
then maybe it's just
They
not.
come up with new rules called
No, yeah, so we don't do budget adjustments, we don't.
They instill the best practices available.
Right.
I keep an eye out for that, yeah.
But we had a 4/5 vote last time, and I just wanted to make sure.
Most of
No,
them
you're right.
went to the reds.
I don't think it's a.
Thanks.
So I asked my commissioner, ethically,
He still has a minute.
if you're mitigating anything.
I thought he still had 3,
let's
so.
increase your expenditure. It just can't be. Especially knowing.
Well,
not
you said
knowing
you
what's coming up, it's sort of-
You can have, you don't have to.
Right.
Then he made up his territory.
Okay, he had said that I have to actually request that after
It's
the
only
call.
gonna be a little
Well,
bit.
by the way, I hadn't heard that one.
So he did.
Okay, because he was like, you guys can actually speak on
He
the
sent
points, because you can.
back to the
get it
present
from
training.
And then again, you can pull it, because otherwise it's not.
It just came.
Yeah.
There's no
That's
meaningful.
okay.
Looks like it
Do you know, is that what it is?
I just went.
Today.
I don't have the right to open session.
I saw it was there.
You have the right to ask.
So they vote something to talk to.
I know,
Yes.
that's at that point, or do you do it?
So they wrote something to change to this, so I don't have any inside knowledge of this.
I don't.
This never came to the.
Right, that's when you,
TNC.
that's when you ask the pull on it. Yeah, ask the pull.
When he reads this like crazy matters, we should then publish on it and
On it.
they can reevaluate or see if it needs to be checked.
Perfect,
Questions
thank you.
or.
Okay, fabulous,
Not as
thanks.
bad.
Was I?
Yeah, you're copied on it, Lynn, so.
And is it on my,
Did you see this?
so, will it come just now, 8:57?
Yeah,
That's coming.
yeah, it's to your Trent County account.
Okay, I just typed my phone number, that's the one?
I haven't heard from Jeremy, I asked him if
No,
he's.
it's Mike Piston,
So I'm assuming he's
Chapman,
live.
Just the
Probably
Chapman
halfway.
Branch B.
Does he go the same way that Dan
So
did?
Frank, no, so I thought
No,
one
pretty much straight to
Yes,
design,
that
but there is roadblocks.
I didn't see this one, I really forgot. Somebody
It's
called
okay.
about
Open
the,
road.
about a different thing on the consent agenda.
He's not on here yet.
Take my lunch break.
I'll read that
That's what it is here.
Oh, no, it's a
They
regular.
can do a resolution, so they can have.
I know.
So, 7 ranch projects, evaluating during root houses, submission modified, but
Right.
I'm sure
Eight
others
business
are clarified by way.
Oh,
To non-attend convention projects.
You're right, it's a pretty much roll.
Also, with stuff to
That's what I get from the working with.
I
complete several projects.
Oh, shoot.
until you're symptomatic, you're gonna get. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
But I'm not,
Do we know who's bringing this
Yeah.
pretty sure
forward?
I did.
Is that,
Can we know who's bringing this forward?
which one is it? The
The
sub-
subsequent?
I can do that.
Okay, that would be great, thank you, sorry.
No, happy to do it. I love talking.
Have we had anything from Jeremy?
I haven't heard anything, so I'm assuming he'll be here, because usually he'll be on by now.
Yeah, I just checked my email to see if he,
Yeah, because I.
the email being sent out,
We
he
can
be
get
there.
started, we can get started without him, do the, go through allegiance and public comments and all that kind of stuff.
On everything. But how is this?
You are now in charge.
From that?
I don't want to be.
I know.
I wasn't
Is this the
afraid
first
to
time
do
it's
it
there,
this
or is
morning
this an extension?
I think this must be.
Are you ready?
We'll find
All
out.
right, well, I don't like talking about
Wait,
that
wait,
stuff.
all of that was
Oh,
wrong,
that's right.
and then it all came back.
How many $1,000 fine is it, Margaret?
I think there's just an order from a
80.
80.
week ago
See, but that's.
or something,
I
that,
can't
because I
say
got
that.
it come through all the personal plans,
That's
true,
true, but-
like,
All
just to
right.
check that all my work right away, and things like that, all waived, so that they could come back in as we
Well,
the units to make sure.
We will call to order the September 21st, 2021 regular meeting of the Trinity County Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Gogan, you want to lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda or within the consent calendar. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to the matters which are in the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. Do we have any public comment?
Terry Mines, Junction City. I have some voice messages I think this entire county needs to hear.
Listening, I just came up with it's Thursday afternoon around 2 o'clock, and in retrospect, I apologize for emailing you kind of impersonally to see if your willingness to talk about GAA stuff. I know it's a sensitive matter, and it's probably best just to have an informal conversation if you're willing to. If you could give me a call, I'd appreciate it. My number is 739-9791. We are preparing enforcement documents, and the county is being somewhat cooperative on undisputed facts that they clear, disregard the sequence and so forth. But your observations and possible help in the form of declaration would probably be really a great help as well. So, you know, if you're reluctant to be in the public light on these issues, I totally understand, but at least informal conversation, follow-up to those that you had with John and others would be really appreciated and helpful as well. So if you could give me a call, I'd appreciate it, 739-9791. I'm going to be in Weaverville tomorrow and Monday. If you prefer to meet briefly to talk about this, that'd be fine as well. Just let me know your availability, and again, appreciate any help you can provide. Thanks, Melissa. Bye-bye. Leslie, I just came up with
Sorry.
Hey, Leslie, this is John Webb. I'm calling, let's see, it's quarter of noon at your time. I'm just checking to see if you and Rachel ever had a chance to talk. I know you were anxious to do that sometime back when we talked, and forgive me if I haven't kept up on emails or other messages. I'm on the East Coast with family and not paying too much attention to the business, but did want to check in on that. So if you can give me a call or just send me a text, either way, that'd be great. Hope you're doing well. Thanks. Bye. That's an event.
I don't know. I have these voicemails, and no, time's not up, Dan. I haven't spoke yet. Those are other people speaking. The reason this is important is because of the people in this
I'm
town
sorry,
don't even know what
but your
happened.
3 minutes is up.
That's great, but everyone in this county needs to file Public Records Acts on Leslie Hubbard, the information so that they can get
Thank
the
you,
truth
sir.
on how this county was undermined by the judge.
Thank
Who,
you.
by the way, is the person that has hard money loans on all the licensed farmers. So he has the motive, it's the money.
Do you have any other public comment in the room? All right. Do we have any public comment on Zoom?
I have no raised hands and no new checks.
With that, we will close public comment and move on to the consent calendar. These items include routine non-controversial matters and will be acted upon by the board by one roll call motion. If a member of the public has any questions or comments on an item on the consent calendar, they may provide them now. A member of the board or staff may request an item be pulled and considered separately. Do you have any public questions?
Good morning, Liz McIntosh from Junction City. I'd like to request that a supervisor pull consent agenda item 1.8 regarding renewing our contract with SHN to the tune of $200,000, which now includes SMART implementation. Back in March of 2019, when this contract was previously renewed, it was also including regulation of mining activities and CUP processing. I sent comments in at that time as well.
Hold on a second, we're going to just remove it at this time. You can save your public comments to when it comes back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm confused. I've been confused by this process for a long time.
Okay, so we have an agenda item on the consent. The board of the public or staff can request to be removed. When the board removes it, then that item is heard separately as a non-consent item, and that's when you read it, you have public comment on it.
I understand that, but we passed a rule saying that the public cannot do it, that it has to come from a board member.
The public can request that we do it.
So you have a choice whether to pull it or not.
But you said we're pulling it.
No,
I apologize.
if we pull it.
If we pull it. Thank you for clarifying. It's the board's pleasure.
So then,
Point of clarification, does that mean that if nobody pulls it, the public can't comment at all?
No, if it doesn't get pulled, then when it will open back up and you can make a generalized public comment as part of public comment. But for right now, the request is for the item to be pulled. That needs to be decided by the board before we continue forward.
Okay, I'm going to follow this up one more time. If we don't pull it, the public, how do they get to have a say in that?
So if you decide not to pull it, she'll have an opportunity to come back and do a public comment as to all items that are on the consent agenda. She gets 3 minutes to talk about any item on the consent agenda that she would like.
All right, so we first are requesting people to ask to have something pulled, no public comment. And then if we say no, then we go to public comment?
Correct. That would be the proper procedure.
But then it's too late to pull.
It's your pleasure. I mean, again, the board has the pleasure of not allowing people to even request it, but
After the action's
they can request what they want in public comment.
So how is this different than the way we used to do it that we fought not to?
Everybody has an option to comment on all public comment items. What you're doing is instead of allowing them an opportunity to comment for 3 minutes on all items, they used to be able to pull every item and comment additional 3 minutes on it. So you were cutting your time in terms of public comment. But other than that, no, they have an option to comment on all public comment
And it
items.
was giving, and again, I hate the way to say it, but then the public could request an item pulled that was pulled. So essentially we could have a filibuster at every time where every item could be pulled. Where this one is what they're doing, they're asking the board, I have a concern about this, would the board pull it? And then the board has discretion. If you are comfortable with the language, the staff report, and the way it's presented, and you don't think that you need additional discussion on it, then you can choose not to pull it. But if you think that the public has a valid concern and you would like to hear the public's concern, then you pull it. But what it's really doing is just preventing every item on our consent calendar from being pulled every meeting. So what it is, it's representation by by district. So at this point, if the board feels that she has a valid concern, then the board has the authority to pull it right now.
Okay.
Okay, any other? I will pull 1.8. Ms. McIntosh will speak a little later on it.
Supervisor Groves, do you have any to pull?
No, I would also pull 1.8.
Okay, I would also like to pull item 1.7.
Well, we do have someone on Zoom requesting to pull an item, I believe. John Brower.
Good morning. I was going to say 1.8 also, but I have a different item to discuss as public comment item. I'd like to add to the future supervisor's agenda that we take another look at this policy.
I think
agendas. I think it's very undemocratic and it just doesn't work in Trinity.
All right, so we have items 1.7 and 1.8 pulled. Would anybody?
I'll move to accept consent minus 1.7 and 1.8.
I will second.
One moment, do we have public comment on the remainder of the agenda items?
Is there any public comment on the remainder of
Agenda items.
the consent calendar items?
I don't see anyone in the room. There's no raised hands and no new chats. Motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves,
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we will start with item 1.7. Approve amendment number 4 to the agreement of Southern Trinity Health Services extending the term to June 30th, 2022 and increasing the maximum cost by $10,000 to provide funds for unreimbursed costs from emergency medical transport services in Zone 3 of Trinity County. And I requested that we pull this item. I would like to bring this back in the future to discuss increasing that amount because Southern Trinity Area Rescue is struggling financially right now and looking for more funding, and that amount doesn't even cover the insurance cost on their ambulance. So,
Yeah, I believe we have Director Hamilton on the line too. But these funds are apportioned through our realignment funds, so it's through a factor system that we have so much money that passes through the county, and this is the amount that has been issued to Southern Trinity for the last several years. But we're more than happy to have Liz bring it back and explain how it's portioned out, and if they get more, who will get less. So it's going to be one of those type of situations, or at the board's pleasure to appropriate general fund dollars towards this. So if that's the board's pleasure, we're more than happy to bring it back. I don't think there is a timeline in getting this out before a certain date, so I don't know if Liz is on the line to answer that question.
Hi, good morning, Liz Hamilton, Health and Human Services Director. Could we request to have this item approved today and then request to bring it back for consideration of another amendment so that we're not delaying costs?
I would be okay with that. As the main thing I want to do is make sure that we revisit this in the future to discuss where the county stands and if there is a possibility that we can increase funding. It's a much needed service in our area and about to go away. So I would be okay with approving the funding that's on here, especially if that's what there is in this funding stream, and then we can discuss general fund later, at a later date. So.
And we do have our budget hearings tomorrow, so that would be a good time possibly to bring this line item up too.
Okay.
And I will speak with our fiscal staff about this today and be prepared with an update for tomorrow.
All right. Well,
I do want to caution in the future, and I sympathize with the money deficits that voters in the North District voted to tax themselves to keep their ambulance service in process, and I don't know if it would be quite fair to subsidize another district while one is paying taxes. So I think this is a complex issue, I guess is what I'm saying, and we need to look at it holistically.
And I would like to, that's why I pulled it, I would like to discuss this further. So I guess at this point we could open it up to public comment. Is there anyone?
I have none within the room. There is no raised hands and no new chats.
All right. Bring it back to the board. I would make a motion that we approve item 1.7 as it's written, but agendized for probably the October, I don't know, the first meeting in October, I can't. 5th. Further discussion on this item.
And discussion tomorrow also to.
Yeah, but we can address the budget tomorrow, what funds are available, and if it is directed by the board to change that, then we can bring it back on the 5th for ratification of the new amount.
I will second that.
Motion by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Gross?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 1.8, planning and zoning. Approve an agreement with SHN Consulting Engineers Incorporated to provide staff support for processing land use projects and the implementation of the county's Surface Mine and Reclamation Act program, up to $200,000 from cannabis and planning funds depending on the project assigned. Do we have any?
Yeah, Kim should be on the line, I just heard from her. There she is.
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning, supervisor, members of the public. I was wondering, just to start out, what questions there are on this item, concerns?
Well, this item was requested to be pulled by a member of the public, so without opening up public comment, we don't really know what the concerns are. So.
This is a contract, this is a new contract with SHN. They have provided since March 2018 services to the planning department that are critical and much needed for the processing of land use projects. In light of the cannabis program, they do not work on cannabis licenses per se, or CEQA. SHN's role in the cannabis program is land use projects, conditional use permits, rezones, anything related to the zoning code and a land use entitlement. So they will help us with various projects, write the staff report, and just provide staff support on land use projects, cannabis and non-cannabis related. So they play a critical role in the backlog of projects we have that are just non-cannabis planning projects. But again, it doesn't matter at that point. It's a land use project we're working on. We do not have the staff to implement what we need to as far as project support. So they played a very important role. With this new agreement, it is also adding the service of SMARA. SMARA had previously been under the Department of Transportation. the SMARA program, which is Surface Mine Reclamation Act. We've heard a lot about it this year with the Smith Pit. It's important we get our program back on track. DOT no longer has the staff either to implement the program, and it is somewhat of a conflict of interest for that program to be under DOT. So we've, since I've started here, I've been trying to get the program back under planning. It is under the zoning code. The planning director is over the program, and we do need to really get on track for our operators, mine operators, because the Department of Mine Reclamation will be doing an audit of the county in the next couple of years, and they're going to be looking for updated inspection reports, updated financial assurance mechanisms, and cost estimates for reclamation. They're going to be looking at every little thing. It's going to be, they call it the LARA program, but it's typically an audit of our program and have we been implementing it correctly. And we need to get on track to do that. So SMARA is very important. Again, we don't have staff in-house to handle that, so SHN can take on that role as well. And that's just where I'm going to stop, except to say this would be a contract with an end date of, I believe, September 30th, 2022, and be retroactive to May 1st, because they did some work on some land use projects that were going to Planning Commission. They did work in May, although the contract was up April 30th. We very much needed their help, so we are asking that the contract be retroactive to May 1st, 2021. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Yeah, Kim, I have a question. If I remember correctly, David Colbeck was going through the program to be SMARA certified. Would this free him up to work a little bit more on the cannabis end of things with our new program that's coming up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct.
All right. No more questions from the board. We'll open up public comment on item 1.8.
I just had a question actually for Margaret first. Based on what the state did with the judge's ruling on the cannabis ordinance, do we have a cannabis ordinance currently, or do we not have a cannabis ordinance currently?
I don't think that pertains to item 1.8.
Well, it's taking money from cannabis funds, so it absolutely does. So I'm concerned about how the cannabis funds are being used. It says it's taking money from cannabis funds. I'm not sure if we actually have an ordinance to be pulling funds from, Dan. That's why I'm asking a very logical question about, do we have an ordinance or do we not? Because the state of California came in, and I don't know if you watched the ruling, the Department of Cannabis came in and said that Judge Boatman's ruling on our ordinance was not enforced. It's not going to be enforced. They said that all of us license holders are 100% dealing with the state directly. So I don't know if you read the ruling, but there was something done by the state of California to the judge's ruling, and I'm asking Margaret a very logical question that I want to know, do we have an ordinance or do we not have an ordinance today?
Board's pleasure if you want me to respond.
Would the board like to hear a response?
Did you feel like you should have not?
This is a matter that will be discussed at 2 o'clock, and we do currently have an ordinance.
Okay, we will.
Okay, so based on the fact that she said that we do have an ordinance, I'm very concerned about any cannabis funds being used because of the judge's ruling being overruled by the state. I don't think that we're probably going to need a lot of the things that are going on, and I think we can streamline this program into a much quicker, fast, efficient program. It's time. Enough is enough. The state has made a statement here. I think Margaret can explain to you that this is not a normal thing when a state comes in and slaps a judge and says his ruling's inconsequential. No one I know that's an attorney has ever actually even seen it before. So it's obviously they're going to protect us farmers that have licenses with the state that are interacting with the state. We have a very valid state license with the state. It specifically said the county's ordinance wasn't going to affect it. That's why I'm asking, and I'm very concerned about any cannabis funds being used until everything is decided, and there's probably a forensic accountant go through the books to figure out where all the money's going. Because you guys keep spending money like abatement processes where they attack us legal farmers. There's a big misconception in this county between legal farmers and illegal farmers. That's why I knew the state was coming to protect us.
Good morning again, Liz McIntosh, Junction City. Thank you for taking this item on. Thank you for the clarification about how this piece of the process works. I'm not opposed to this on the surface of it. I know that we need help in this area, but in 2019, when this last passed, I came and asked for this to be pulled for the same reasons that I'm here today, and it's mostly about transparency. In Exhibit B, it states that each project has a reference number so it can be easily tracked. The same exhibit was also included in 2019, and at that time, we were also informed that SHN was working with the Smith Pit Mine on their CUP amendment. I requested to pull this item and followed up with queries to the Planning Department and County Council to see just how much money had been spent on this project. No clear answer was received. If it's so easy to track, and it's so, how come it's so hard to get answers and progress? I'd like to know about the progress that's been made, and I'd like to know how a member of the public can access this information, especially with this money coming from both the cannabis and the planning departments. When I had asked about how the funds are appropriated from each department, the only answer I really got was that, well, cannabis projects will be cannabis and planning will be this. But again, if we could track it, if we had a fee study, all these things, right? If it would be so much cleaner and easier for the public to have an understanding and not waste your time here pulling items like this. So transparency in governing is not our strong suit right now, especially when it comes to cannabis regulation, fee studies, and now mines. I think it would be a good show of faith to thoughtfully consider how $200,000 is going to be spent. I don't know who decides whether or not this is controversial or not, but just based on all of our experience and everything that's going on, I find it highly controversial to not have a deeper understanding of how the public can access this information and how we can find out the progress. I understand that it's very helpful, but I'd like to know exactly what progress has been made, and especially on that project in Junction City. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I just make a quick recommendation to the speaker? Tomorrow we have our budget hearing, which we go through every single dollar that is in our budget, and we encourage the public to show up and ask these questions because we are very transparent. It is laid out. We can go down and tell you how much toilet paper we use in a certain department. So I highly encourage you to show up tomorrow and ask that question, because we get this constantly, that there's no transparency, but then we have our budget hearings and we sit here with crickets. So I would encourage you to be here tomorrow.
Thank you.
Do we have any further public comment on this item?
I have none in the room. There are no raised hands and no new chats.
That we will close public comment on item 1.8 and bring it back to the board.
1.8, I'll move to accept as written, and I'll have a comment.
I have a motion. I will second.
So my comment to the last speaker is I really welcome, hopefully people come tomorrow. In 4 years of cannabis budget hearings, we've had one question in 4 years. We are always prepared to answer any question that comes along. So if people have questions, tomorrow's the time, or the day after, whenever, if we have to go that far. So tomorrow's the day. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Comments from the board? Seeing none. Emma?
Motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Frazier. Supervisor Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Kogan?
Aye.
Thank you.
The chair has a subsequent item that I'd like to add to the agenda. I didn't know if now would be the right time.
I would. Go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to request a subsequent item be added to the agenda in open session. It is a resolution under AB 361 regarding continuing using the teleconference mechanisms for board meetings. The information regarding this agenda item came to the attention of the county on Friday when it was passed, and that was after the posting of the agenda. It does require immediate action before our next agenda, as the sunset clause on the prior one expires on September 30th, if not sooner. So as a result, I'd request that this be added to the agenda under those circumstances.
Okay.
I'll move to accept the subsequent.
I'll second. Any discussion? Emma, will you hold the board?
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Frazier. Supervisor Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
And I see that Supervisor Brown is on.
Chair Brown has just joined the meeting.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Chair Brown, would you like to take over the meeting, or would you like me to keep going?
I'm happy to take it over. I apologize for my tardiness. Somehow my calendar was misinformed, so apologies and thank you
All right.
for taking that on. Was that just the consent calendar you guys worked through?
Yes, we would be on item 2.1.
All right. Reports and announcements. Are there department heads wishing to report out today?
Yes.
There's got to be someone.
Yes. Liz, if you'd like to go, you can start when you're ready.
Hey, good morning, Liz Hamilton, Health and Human Services, OES Director. I wanted to provide an update on fires, and so I will start with recapping that we had a local assistance center earlier this month, September 9th, 10th, and 11th, and we were able to serve 111 individuals at that site. We are working to schedule a second local assistance center for the Coffee Creek area and those impacted by the river complex. So we will announce those dates as soon as we have those secured with the state. On the river complex, environmental health has been out yesterday and today doing a preliminary damage assessments with our state partners, and hoping to have those findings in short order. Once we do, we submit, we continue that information chain up to the state. We've asked for inclusion on a Fema Declaration once we have that information. I am grateful to announce that the presidential declaration for FEMA was amended on the 18th of this month, and we were included, both Trinity and Tehama counties were included in the FEMA declaration for monuments specifically. And as I stated, we're waiting and gathering additional information on river complex. We have a meeting later this afternoon with the state to really work through the details of what that means for Trinity County residents and those impacted in the monument fire. So once we have that, we will make that information available to the public so that they know how to apply for that assistance. What we do know at this date, information, it changes as further assessments are done. But on the monument fire, we've had a total loss of 104 structures. That's 50 residential, 41 outbuildings, 7 commercial residential, and 6 commercial non-residential structures. On the river complex to date, we have a total of 94 structures that have been lost, 30 residential, 39 outbuildings, 24 commercial, 1 secondary home, a cabin as a secondary home. So our team continues to work bringing in our partners for recovery efforts, Office of Emergency Services, in some respects is transitioning from primary incident focus to recovery focus. So we're putting together our teams for that and provide more information as soon as we have it. So, end of report.
All right, thank you, Liz. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, Liz, this is Keith. We have some people still in the evacuation zones that stayed and fought and saved their house, but now they're these are people that live at a very high elevation, need to start prepping for winter. So I just encourage that we get access for those people to move in and out and do whatever we can to help the survivors that still have cabins and that up there. Because once they get snowed, they're stuck in there for the whole winter. So just a comment.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I know that we are currently working phase 1, which is toxic waste removal on Monument. And we've made the same request with the state for river complex. That's an important piece for environmental health to work with the state on getting the toxic waste removed. I know a lot of those properties have been red tagged. Phase 2, which is the portion of recovery that includes like property cleanup, debris removal. We're working with the right of entry forms. I know that those have been made available by the state already, which is great. And I'm having those conversations on what we can do prior to the winter months coming, which are coming up on us. So thank you for those comments. I hear them, and I'm pushing for those efforts to happen.
Okay, the people I'm referring to don't have any internet access. They do have phone and email. Can I give them your address for a contact point on what funds they might be available, or loans, or whatever process is, or should we wait?
The public is welcome to call our recovery line, or incident line, which is 623-8223.
And is that at OES, or is that you guys? Not that you're not.
It is both. It is our staff that are assigned to OES.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. This is Susie Calkins. I'm not sure if this is the most appropriate time, but I wanted to take a moment to introduce Chantel Estes, our new housing program manager that started yesterday in the admin grants unit. Chantel comes to us from Cluse County, where she's had years of experience working with the behavioral health population in transitional and other housing programs. We are very thankful and grateful to have someone with her level of expertise to assist the county in expending revenue that we've already been allocated and attained, but with the federal and state budgets, we are anticipating a big chunk of revenue to come our way, and needed some assistance in how to spend that and having boots on the ground to meet with those impacted not only by the fires, but also those that are chronically homeless living on our street. So I know Chantel is there in chambers. I don't know if she wants to say a couple of words, but I want to introduce her to you as well as to the community. She will serve as our pivotal access point to housing and homeless services, as well as supportive services. And again, welcome to Chantel. I will have already let department heads, some of the department heads know that she is here and provided her contact information, but I'm sure she'll also provide that to whoever wants to meet with her. So welcome aboard, Chantel.
Thank you, Susan.
I appreciate that wonderful introduction. And yes, as Susie mentioned, I come from Colusa County, where I have had the opportunity to work with our mentally ill and homeless population for over 7.5 years. During that time, I've been able to open up new housing programs, as well as increase the housing inventory and locate land to use the No Place Like Home. So I'm very familiar with what is needed here, and I'm excited to get started. And if there's no other questions, I just want to thank you for your time.
Welcome.
All right, well, if there's any questions, are there any department heads wishing to report?
I'm not seeing any movement. I think we are all good.
All right. Then we will move into 2.12. Report from County Administrative Officer, Dr. Coons.
Yeah, just again, I wanted to welcome Chantel. I look forward to having her part of the team. She brings a lot of experience to Trinity County. Really just the big thing is tomorrow, as we've already stated several times, we have our public hearing for our budget hearings. And we strongly encourage everybody who has interest or curiosity about how we prepare the budget and what is in the budget to come ask us questions. We'll have our budget analyst here, we'll have our auditor here, we'll have Craig, who's our consultant. So the whole team will be here, ready to answer any questions the public has. Thank you.
Richard, I have one question that I'd like an update on. It's not really a question, but can you update on the status of the commercial building on Main Street?
Yeah, all the hard construction is completed. Everything is done. I think we were waiting on getting the dark fiber in and the cubicles. So it's ready to go. We're just waiting on some consultants to complete their portion of it. And so I don't have that date, but I'm hoping we can get it shortly because everything else is done. All the construction's done. Looks absolutely beautiful. We're ready to open up and start utilizing it.
Yeah. Hey, this is Kim. If I could add to that, we actually began moving stuff down this morning, but our staff can't move down until we get that internet hooked up. I'm hoping that will be in the next couple of weeks, and then the cubicles won't be coming till November, so they're just going to have to build them around us. But we are making progress. Things are moving and heading down there right now.
All right. Do any other board members have any questions for Dr. Coons before we move on? All right. Hearing none, we'll go to the next item, report from Boards of Supervisors. Supervisor Frazier, you want to start it off?
I don't have a lot to report this meeting. I did meet with a couple of private people, and I did meet with representatives from Southern Trinity Area Rescue since our last meeting. Other than that, nothing to report.
All right. What about you, Supervisor Gogan?
I was at a PSA 2 meeting yesterday. Was still trying to work through getting Dignity Health up here to supply our elderly in the Weaverville area with meals. I attended 2 fire meetings in the Hind Palm Hay Fork area, one prior to the rain, one after. A whole different meeting after the rain. And I will let Keith speak about the TMC meetings that we both attended last week.
Supervisor Groves, you want to take it over?
Sure. The fire kind of dominated, my couple of weeks here. We had a meeting the day after the fire blew through Coffee Creek. Fortunately, we got a team in with a lot of resources, and then the weather benefited us immensely. The fire still goes on, but Coffee Creek, and well, basically, I think think everybody is off evacuation warning now, except upper reaches of Coffee Creek, where the damage is. People are repopulating where they can, and the fire still goes north and threatens Camp Unalay, which is a camp way up on the northern end of my district. But the fire is cooperating for the most part, but it's very welcome to hear 3 helicopters running 12 hours a day dumping water, and nobody with drip torches makes a nice feeling for the community. On to the TMC Quarterly Meeting. We had 2 days, the 15th and 16th. The 15th, Liam had brought up a large concern about what preparation TMC and or are they coordinating with the Forest Service on the sediment that's going to come out of especially the monument fire down into the river. Quite frankly, it wasn't the most satisfactory answer, but staff is going to work on that to see if there's things that TMC can do to help prevent large amounts of fine ash and sediment going in the river. The second day we had a report on the refinement process and how's that's going, and we actually had some public attending that and asked some pointing questions, and that process is moving along slow, but it is moving along. So there was some assurance from the TMC staff that we are high priority is to get public involvement back in the process, i.e. like the old TAMWAG. There's still talk of making TMC a FACA group, which means the public could be on it. I do not think that will happen, but I keep pushing that, and so does one other agency. With that, I think that kind of hit the highlights of it, and that's all I have to report.
All right, thanks, Supervisor Groves. For District 4, myself, yeah, we still have the fire down here, and it is kind of been creeping up the New River towards Denny, across the river up onto the Denny side, I believe. And there's a bunch of dozers out there. It's wrapped its way down the river frontage towards Trinity Village. But so far it seems like there's been ample crews. Obviously one of the biggest issues is when the power is shut off and there's no cell service and no phone service, and people lose their communications. So the Verizon has been helpful in bringing little Wi-Fi and Verizon/AT&T booster systems, primarily for emergency personnel to utilize at fire stations where they normally would have been impacted. But you know, to take this into consideration for long-term safety, having a secondary method of receiving emergencies, either via code red or with cell service, I think should increase its importance on our list. I mean, I guess it's more of a District 4, but Supervisor Frazier, I imagine you have cell phone bed areas in South County as well. I'm speculating, and maybe Supervisor Groves, you as well. And even when emergency personnel come into our area to whatever serve and protect, even they are left without as much communications as they would like to have, and that was pretty apparent from my experience. When people couldn't just communicate everything over a two-way radio or whatever kind of radio it is they use. And I was able to talk to Verizon about it, and you know, obviously they said that it's not too feasible with the topography and the geography of the 299 corridor and Trinity County's rural locations in general. but I'm not necessarily satisfied with that response, so I'm going to try to look into that further. And the Christmas tree project is moving along. I'm not sure if you guys have been getting updates at all outside of board meetings, but the tree harvest is scheduled for October, I want to say October 6th, I might be wrong. But I don't believe the tree is going to be able to make it through Weaverville. That's my understanding. It is going to be going out to 36 to the coast and then up into Willow Creek. And there is a small event planned for the Willow Creek with COVID precautions being watched and all that. So if there is any desire for Trinity County entities or individuals want to come to the Willow Creek Christmas tree event, reach out to me and I can make sure you have all the information that is needed for that. And that's about all I have to report out on. So with that, unless anyone needs to take a break, we can go into county matters.
Jeremy, I have a little follow-up for you.
Please.
I've talked to Ed and OES about having OES look into the Verizon mini towers, either getting grants or getting the ability to have grants to rent them or add access into the areas, because of course we have the same issues that you've had, and it becomes very critical for people to be informed. So I think that's a discussion that we can add OES into. Thank you.
Yeah, I know Ed did apply for and get, I believe he got approved for 2 of the emergency trailers that have radio frequency connection, I believe all the way to Weaverville, and they're portable siren units, and they can be activated by radio frequency. And if Ed is listening in and wants to comment on this, feel free, but I believe that process started over 1.5 years or 2 years ago, and these processes take a long time, unfortunately, when they're depending on the emergency services. It is a little disappointing as a supervisor to see the process take so long when you identify a critical issue that can result in saving lives or homes or whatever. But I did receive 2 of those trailers with grants, and I believe one's for downriver area and the other's for either South County or North County. And maybe it's something that we should have more than 2 of them in the county. I believe they only have about a 3 to 4 mile range with this siren, and that's essentially just a last ditch effort when planning wasn't done well. So thanks for those comments, Supervisor Groves. We're going to county matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board or staff may request that an item be heard out of order. Are there any members of the board wishing to change the order of these items?
I would request we hear item 6.1 at the end before we go into closed session.
6.1.
Subsequent.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said before first?
Yeah, so right after item 3.3, I would suggest we do item 6.1.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Mr. Chair, I would also request that for the addendum items.
I'm sorry, what was that, Director Tibbet? I missed that.
I would request that we hear the addendum items after the subsequent items.
Okay. I apologize, I did miss some of those items being added. All right, with that, we'll jump into human resources. Item 3.1, adopt a resolution which revises the employer's contribution for each qualifying retirement employee's annuitants, Health benefit plan, approximately $28,000 per month, depending on current number of retirees eligible for PERS Platinum.
Thank you. Good morning. Shelley Nelson, HR Director. So a resolution was passed back in 2001 for Trinity County retirees ordering that the employer's contribution for each annuitant shall be the amount to pay the cost of their enrollment, including the enrollment of their family member in a health benefit plan up to a maximum amount of the single party premium for PERS Choice Health Plan per month, plus administrative fees and contingency reserve fund assessments. So effective January 1 of 2022, CalPERS is actually eliminating the PERS Choice Plan altogether, and they are transitioning it into what's called PERS Platinum PPO. This basic plan will offer 10% coinsurance benefit design and will retain the same broad network as PERS Choice Basic Plan. And there will be no changes to the benefit design or network for the PERS Platinum Medicare Supplemental Plan. The monthly premium for PERS Platinum beginning January 2022 will increase from PERS Choice's current premium by $121.17. But it is staff's recommendation to transition the applicable plan from PERS Choice to PERS Platinum for all eligible retirees.
All right, are there any questions from the board? All right. Is there any public comment on this item?
None in the room. I have no raised hands and no new chats.
All right.
I'll move to accept move to accept 3.1 as presented.
I'll second.
I'll second that. Oh, sorry, go ahead with Fraser, please.
Seeing no discussion from the board. Motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Fraser. Supervisor Fraser, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves.
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye.
And Supervisor Fraser, or Brown, sorry.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Shelley. Item 3.2, take the following actions regarding the skilled trades MOU retroactively effective September 16th, 2021. Sub-item 1, ratify county's legal negotiator Sophia Meyer's signature on the side letter agreement with the skilled trades unit modifying spreadsheet A of the MOU. Sub-item 2, approve the job descriptions and set the salary range and add to the alphabetical listing of classification those positions listed on amendment attachment A. Sub-item 3, modify the departmental listing of allocations for the Department of Transportation and the Department of Building and Planning, Cannabis Division to reflect the new/revised classifications listed on attachment C. Item 4, pursuant to County Code Section 2.60.360, authorize reclassifying the employees noted on attachment B, and sub-item 5, remove from the alphabetical listing of classifications those positions listed in the side letter agreement. No impact to the general fund. The approximate cost and salary and benefits for the fiscal year 21-22 is $121,325.
Okay, so the skilled trades unit, the board had approved a memorandum of understanding with them for a 6-year term effective July 1. Well, it went into effect July 1 of 2019. And this included a spreadsheet A, which listed all the classifications and the corresponding percentage annual pay increases. And these negotiated annual pay increases took into account the class and compensation study, recommendations, as well as minimum wage increase requirements. So under Article 9 provisions, Section 9 classification and comp study issues, the MOU does allow and did allow for the county and the unit to meet and confer to discuss these classification changes as recommended by the contractor, as they were not yet completed upon ratification of that MOU back in 2019. So the county began meeting and conferring with skilled trades back in March of 2021. And over the course of several sessions, and an agreement in concept was made and presented to you, the board, in closed session on July 7, 2021. The board accepted these changes and directed the team to create a side letter agreement. And the agreement is before you and has been reviewed by both the bargaining unit membership and the county. and has been fully executed by the lead negotiator, Sophie Meyer, and UPEC representative, Ron Copeland. If you'd like, I can go over the details of what's in the staff report, or would you like me not to do that?
Any members like Shelley to go over the details?
No.
Hearing none.
I'm fine with it. Keith, you all right?
You would like the details, Supervisor Gupkin, or you would not like the details?
We do not want the details.
Okay. That means we have trust. So,
That means we've had the details.
Yeah, we've been through it.
We have full understanding.
Yeah.
all right, unless there's any questions from the board, we will take public comment on this item.
None in the room. No raised hands. And no new chats, except I think there is one in the room.
Rick Tippett, Director of Transportation. I'd like to thank the board for taking this under consideration. Retention and even getting people to come in right now is very difficult for the road department. As you can see, we've only been able to fill half the road maintenance worker positions. So anything that makes it more advantageous for the department to bring people on board is a very welcome thing. And I would go for, as hard as these guys work, it's well deserved too.
All right, unless there's any other public comment on this item.
I'll move to accept 3.2 as presented.
I will second.
Seeing no other discussion from the board, motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Supervisor Groves,
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Thank you.
All right, item 3.3, modify the departmental allocation list for the Department of Transportation to read 2 environmental compliance specialists. Is it 1 step or high step? 2. 1 or 2 step. Effective September 21st, 2021. No impact to the general fund. Approximate cost and salary benefits per month for an environmental compliance specialist. 1 at A step is $9,308, and for environmental compliance specialist 2 at A step is $10,165.
So the department has requested to add 1 additional allocation to their environmental compliance specialist classification series. Basically, the demands and the workload for both grading permits and environmental compliance studies and reviews have increased significantly for this department. Disaster work response, bridge projects, they both need environmental compliance reviews. The department is still working on 2017 and 2019 storm damages, the August fire, and now added our environmental compliance studies needed to new damages as a result of the current fires. An additional employee is needed to assist with these increased and continued demands. There is sufficient funding within the department. We are requesting approval.
Right, are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this item?
None from within the room. I have no raised hands and no new chats.
All right, we're going back to the board, please.
I'll move to accept 3.3 as presented.
I'll second.
I'll second. I'll retain that one, Emma.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Brown. Supervisor Brown, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves.
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye.
And Supervisor Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go into item 6.1, right?
Correct.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm having to pull it up here. Move to discuss and or take action to add a resolution regarding the use of remote teleconference meetings pursuant to the Brown Act.
We already did that
And
part.
oh,
We're just adopting the resolution at this point.
Oh, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, so it's the agenda language, not the requested action.
Yes.
So adopt a resolution that authorizes.
I apologize.
Good catch.
So, what Margaret said,
It's adopt a resolution that authorizes remote teleconference meetings of the legislative body of Trinity County pursuant to the Brown Act provisions. Happy to provide a brief overview if the board would like.
Please.
On Friday, the state passed AB 361, which makes permanent the waiver of the teleconference requirements under the Brown Act in states of emergency. It specifically articulates 2 states of emergency, one being where you have a contagious outbreak and you have social distancing, and the other one which contemplates safety of your members. So that would be in a situation such as a fire. What it allows is that if the board passes a resolution that's attached for a 30-day period, you can continue to have your meetings through the Zoom platform or the phone platform. There are some additional requirements that are put on there, all of which the Trinity County has already been compliant with, such as if the Zoom or telephone goes down, the meeting has to stop. You have to allow ample time for individuals to participate on every agenda item. And again, nothing else that the Trinity County is not already doing, but some other jurisdictions hadn't been doing. So it's requested that this item be adopted to allow us to continue to use this platform. And it will then be on the agenda every 30 days until the safety concern is alleviated, which again, it's the board's decision when that occurs. You can also rely on the state orders, which are currently still in place, that we are in a state of emergency, but you can also declare it locally if you need to. Any questions?
Yeah, a local emergency counts as enacting this?
Correct. It requires either state or local emergency being declared. So in this case, the state has already declared an emergency, so you don't, and we frankly have emergencies due to the fire, but that's a different scenario. But because the state's already declared a state of emergency due to COVID, we don't need to enact the local one. If the situation were to occur where it's a local emergency that requires us to do this, we would have the ordinance also declare an emergency and then enact them. But we're relying on the state's one at this time.
So, I can't swear to this, but in the last 4 years, I don't think I remember a time we weren't in a state of emergency. So even if it's like the cleanup after the fires or whatever, so do those all count? Or does it have to be a threat to
Health and safety.
yeah, health and safety?
So it does seem to be one of 2 things. It either needs to be declared state of emergency by the local or state or federal government, and a requirement that social distancing be in place, or which is the one we can utilize for this and all contagious diseases. The other one is it's got to be necessitate remote meetings to protect the health and safety of the citizens. So for example, if individuals can't travel because of cleanup or because of debris, that would likely qualify.
All right, thank you.
is there any public comment on this item?
Yes, just a second.
Yeah, Daryl Forsell from Mountain Community Healthcare District. And this is probably a question for council. She may decline to answer, but over the years, council has, and the council has on occasion provided some analysis for special districts. And I'm assuming the special districts have the same requirement. The one question would be, can we rely on the state of emergency language that's at the state and Fema County level, or do we have to provide our own state of emergency language?
I'm happy to respond, Chair, if you'd like me to.
Yeah, please.
So you can rely on the state or our local declared state of emergency. You can also declare your own. The way this is written, it is designed to cover all districts and legislative bodies within Trinity County. My recommendation to special districts is that you do enact your own, but you rely on this. The intent was to cover you, but my recommendation is for you to do your own relying on this document.
So we could adopt our own resolution similar to what you have and be in good shape. So.
You can adopt identical, and in fact, this applies to special districts exactly in that
So we could technically not have to do it because it's already in your resolution.
So technically, but again, my
Yeah,
recommendation
no, I
is to do
understand,
it.
I understand.
But the intent was to protect those special districts that weren't following the laws closely as the county is on the county level, was to attempt to protect them as well. But again, the recommendation is that each individual district or subsidiary of Trinity County does their own, relying on this document, which creates the emergency for you.
Thank you very much.
I have no other public comment within the room. There are no raised hands and no new chats.
Okay. Unless there's any further discussion from the board, entertain a motion.
I'll move to accept item 6.1 as presented.
I'll second.
Seeing no discussion from the board, motion by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier,
Aye.
Supervisor Groves,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Emma. And was there another addendum item, or was that the only?
There's 2 addendum items.
Oh, okay. Director Tippett, floor is yours.
Would you like me to read the item out loud so we know what we're handling right now?
Yeah, probably, because I don't have it.
Perfect, I can do that. Transportation, item A, approve an agreement with Fullis Inc. of Anderson to make pavement repairs to Martin Road and Lance Gulch Road, subject to routing for form and content. No impact to the general fund, $60,000 from RMRA.
Morning, Rick Tippett, Director of Transportation, semi-retired. Tullis is coming into town to grind and pay for the traffic signal in the next week, or it might possibly be Monday. I wasn't sure the exact date, but it's in the next couple of days. And there are some minor pavement issues here in Weaverville. One of them, probably everybody's familiar with, there's a dip on Lance Gulch just past the bridge. If you're heading to the store, you kind of go over the bridge and then there's a quick dip. And there's been water infiltration for the last couple of years in that area. And we kind of dug off on the side and believe we've addressed it, but we have a chance here with Tullis in town to go ahead and fix that. They were the contractor for the original bridge construction and road construction, so we'll get them in there to make that repair. And then also over on Martin Road, we tested some grinding equipment and grinded up the pavement where there was a pavement failure, and we came back with some old chip seal material and put it down to hold the road over for a little bit, but did need to be repaved, and here was an opportunity. So we're asking for some funds to take an opportunity with Tullis in town and go ahead and pave out those areas. And one last thing, being that it's under $60,000, Streets and Highways Code allows us to direct contract without going out to bid. And so we did feel that with the savings of mobilization and everything, that this would be the best option for expending money at the cheapest price. So with that, I can answer any questions.
So I assume this.
Any question?
I assume this is a savings, so there's no move in, move out. Roughly how much money is this save?
It'd probably be about 20%, 20-30% of the contract. Because moving a grinder and a paver up to Weaverville from Sacramento, or from, Anderson, is pretty expensive.
Okay.
Did you reach out to the contractor who just got done with the mill and I think the hospital to work on this? I think it was California Asphalt, perhaps?
No, I did not.
They were here for several months, I'm sure.
Yeah, being that we are in contract with Tullis right now, it's very common that you reach out to your current contractors to extend the services that they're providing. If I go to someone else's contractor, then it could be, you might not be able participate in some of the advantages that you get, they might see it as a individual mobilization rather than having it as a complementary mobilization, which we have right now.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Director Tippett? All right, well, we appreciate the savings. Is there any public comment on this item?
I have none in the room. There are no raised hands and no new chats.
All right, bring it back to the board then. I'll move to approve the addendum item as presented.
I'll second, and clarification, that's item A.
Thanks, Supervisor Gross.
Seeing no discussion from the board, motion by Supervisor Brown, second by Supervisor Groves. Supervisor Groves, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Item B, ratify the road commissioner's signature on contract change order number 1 to provide waterline extensions to the Trinity County Sheriff Detention Facility and approve contract change order number 2, increasing the maximum cost by $86,499.20 to provide paving changes on Airport Road, subject to routing for form and content. No impact to the general fund, $23,300.24 from the new jail fund, and $63,198.96 from RMRA funds.
As you might recall, we had to put in a new water line from the jail over to State Highway 3 that wrapped around the planning building. The contract called for trenching along the airport road and then joining in with the water line on the highway. And we were supposed to go back and T-trench where we had done the excavation. The problem was, turned out that was a very thin chip seal, and the base material underneath it was of poor quality. So when we got in there to start essentially rebuilding the trench afterwards, we were able to rebuild the trench, but the pavement that was dug out had chipped and spalled and kind of went everywhere. So when you get in those type of situations, there's 2 courses. Either you can chip seal it, which normally in this type of situation we would, or you could go back and you can repave it. Being that the planning and buildings are right there, we felt that the best option would be to go in and do a quick base repair and come back and give it a overlay and with asphalt pavement, so that the area approaching into the planning area would be in good condition. And so, and then plus also as close as it was to State Highway 3, we also get a lot of traffic in and out of the airport. So this also gave a good edge to the pavement so that it would stand up better to truck traffic going in and out of there. Road Commissioner Authority covered the first change order. The second change order, I need to get your permission before doing it. Again, the weather is changing pretty soon, so that's why we asked for an addendum to get them out there right away and get it done. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
So is this the contractor that did the jail that's doing the paving, or is this?
It's the contractor that did the water line for the jail. We had to have an independent contract because it was outside of the jail project itself.
Okay.
So it's the one that went through the airport and around the planning and then down the State Highway 3.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
So who is that contractor?
All right.
The contractor is Giles Excavation and Paving.
Is there any way to tie this in with Lyle when he comes up here to tell us?
We could, but again, the tolls contract, there's some, I'm trying to remember the code, the PCC, the Public Contract Code, there you go, sorry. The Public Contract Code only allows for us to execute contracts that are negotiated up to $60,000. So the work that was identified by tolls was $60,000. If I changed order this work in, I could probably change order it in. But again, the work, especially on Lance Gulch being done by Tollis, they're very familiar with that project because they constructed initially, and that's why we kind of kept those two separated. Plus, this would be away from their area, so it would they would have to be willing to go over and do it. And I'm not quite sure they were willing to.
So Lance Gulch in the airport is not that far away? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, we already have a contract.
Well, I already have a contract. This work that's being done is just an extension of the initially contracted work.
Okay.
Any additional questions from the board? And is there any public comment on this item?
There is none in the room. Yes. Oh, there is. I'm sorry. I apologize. I moved too quickly.
If you've seen the planning department or been on that road, you understand it is in very bad shape. So it just unraveled as soon as the work was being done. So as the department head that's been accessing that road on a daily basis, yeah, this is very important to get done. It is becoming a safety issue. I don't think anybody questions that. I just wanted to reiterate what Rick said and definitely voice my support for this action. Thanks.
No other comment from within the room. No raised hands and no new chats.
Right. I'll bring it back to the board.
I'll move to accept Addendum B as presented.
I'll second.
Seeing no discussion from the board, motion by Supervisor Groves, second from Supervisor Frazier. Supervisor Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves.
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. See, that's all the addendums, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then with that, we'll go into closed session. I am going to move them around, and we will start with 4.2, and then we will go into, Margaret, maybe you have an opinion of 4.3 or 4.1 after 4.2?
If you wouldn't mind actually at 4.2 first, and the rest of them can go in whatever order you would like.
Okay. So we'll do 4.2, and then about 4.3, and then 4.1. So, is there any public comment on these items?
Chair, you need to read the items.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So I'll read them in the order that they will be presented. Item 4.2, Government Code Sections 549, 54.5D, Liability Claim Number of Cases 1. Claimant Robert Benbrook, Claim Number TR 120-0013, Agency Claim Against Trinity County. Item 4.3, Government Code Section 549-54.5F, Conference with Labor Negotiators, County's Designated Representatives, Sophia Meyer and Shelley Nelson, Employee Organizations, Deputy Sheriff's Association, Probation Peace Officers Unit, Skilled Trades Unit, and Management and Confidential Unit, and General Unit. And then lastly, 4.1, Government Code Section 549-54.5C, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation, Number of Cases 2. I don't know if it matters, but we will probably do the bankruptcy of Purdue Pharma LP, Western District of Washington, U.S. Bankruptcy Court, case number 19-23649. We'll do that one first, followed by Trinity Action Association, Inc. versus County of Trinity, et al., Trinity County Superior Court, case number 19-CV001. Any public comment?
That's a nice chicken you got there.
There's no public comment from the room. I have no raised hands and no new chats.
All right, with that, and then just an announcement. At 2 o'clock, someone should correct me if I'm wrong there, 2 o'clock we're going to return with planning and zoning, item 5.1.
Correct. We are recessing into closed session now, and open session will resume at 2 o'clock.
Okay, and for the record, I will be recusing from the Trinity Action Association court case item. And with that, we will go into closed session. Are you going to be able to sit one?
Yes, I can do. Yes, I'll send you the links.